Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. A very warm welcome to Chinachem Group Sustainability Conference 2023, organized by Chinachem Group and co-organized with Hong Kong Green Building Council. This is Patricia Yang, and it's such a delight to be your MC again this year. Let's hear a big round of applause to welcome everyone joining us today, shall we? Thank you. It's wonderful to see all of you again this year. Well, the organizers are thrilled to share a news with you that we have over 3,600 registrations for this conference today, including both physical and online attendees. That's a record high and such an encouraging number. And in addition to that, we have received staunch support from the industry with over 100 supporting organizations to help make this conference possible. Let's give another big round of applause to all of our supporting organizations and to everyone who helped make this conference possible today. Thank you so much. Well, before I give you a brief overview of the agenda today, do you know that we are not only talking about sustainability today at the conference, because to ensure this conference is a low-emission event, we actually have embarked on an initiative by offsetting the carbon emissions generated by this conference through planting a corresponding number of trees. It's a commitment that goes beyond this conference and extends far into the future. Well, I'm sure we all look forward to the exciting program today and all the inspiring discussions ahead. Today, taking up the theme of pioneering an inclusive net zero future for Hong Kong, renowned overseas and local speakers will share their views on a broad range of inspiring topics. The morning session will cover several topics, including the importance of policy in achieving net zero, Hong Kong's current and future journeys towards carbon neutrality, examples of urban planning that contribute to making Hong Kong more sustainable, and technology applications in the construction industry. While in the afternoon session, we'll focus on how our sustainable built environment can create social impact with partnership, the use of green technologies, and carefully planned facilities management. Well, a warm reminder again, today's conference will mainly be conducted in English with simultaneous interpretations to Cantonese and Putonghua available for both physical and online participants. Headsets are available at the reception counter. For our online participants, you may select your preferred language by clicking the audio channel. We have also prepared instant Cantonese sign language interpretation throughout the conference. And now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please join me and welcome on stage Architect Choi, JP, Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of Chinachem Group for a welcome speech. Please welcome Architect Choi.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's my great pleasure to extend a heartfelt welcome to each one of you attending the Chinachem Group Sustainability Conference 2023. We are delighted to have so many people from diverse backgrounds joining us either here in person or through our live stream. What unites us is that we all share the same strong commitment to shaping a sustainable future for Hong Kong and beyond. Today, we are delighted to have 15 distinguished speakers joining us from various sectors, including government, business, not-for-profit organizations, and academia. And we feel especially privileged to welcome back the Honorable Bernadette Lin, Secretary for Development of the Hong Kong SAR, as our guest of honor for the second consecutive year. Thank you. This year's conference holds particular significance as we see the impact of climate change striking ever closer to home. In September alone, Hong Kong experienced a ferocious strike from a super typhoon and an extraordinary black rainstorm with our highest level hourly rainfall since records began in 1884. From the escalating frequency of extreme weather to the urgent need for inclusive and sustainable practices, the importance of our collective actions has never been more apparent. The government has committed to achieve carbon neutrality for Hong Kong before 2050, and the interim decarbonization target to reduce Hong Kong's carbon emissions by 50% before 2035 as compared to the 2005 level. At Chinachem Group, we understand that transitioning to a net zero economy is not a simple task, but it's one that we should, and indeed we must, undertake for the greater good. We firmly believe that sustainability should benefit all members of society, leaving no one behind. That's why our chosen theme for this year's Sustainability Conference interconnects two crucial concerns: inclusivity and the pursuit of net zero emissions. By embracing inclusivity as a cornerstone of our sustainability efforts, we can work together towards building a just transition and a future that is not only environmentally responsible, but also equitable, diverse, and resilient. Chinachem Group is committed to fostering positive societal impact across all of our operations by giving equal consideration to people, prosperity, and planet, our 3 Ps. One notable example is our adoption of modular integrated construction, or MIC, in Hong Kong's first private residential project in Dong King Street. MIC is an innovative construction method with most processes completed off-site in a factory environment. This approach can speed up construction time, reduce construction waste by a significant 65% and noise pollution by also 65%, as well as enable quality and a safer working environment for the workers. Another CCG development project using MIC is the 2,000 units residential development above Dong Chung Traction Substation. At 45 stories, it will become the tallest residential development in Hong Kong built by MIC. Apart from new developments, we are also implementing various energy-saving measures for our existing buildings. Through visual commissioning, we are examining the performance of existing buildings to identify areas for energy optimization, reduce energy usage, and improve indoor environmental quality. For example, we are partnering with CLPE to install Hong Kong's first zero-carbon chiller system in this building. This initiative will reduce electricity consumption by over 50% compared with the existing plant, equivalent to a reduction of 7,000 tons of carbon emission annually. Also, in teaming up with ESR, APAC's largest real estate asset manager, we are proud to be building the biggest cold storage logistics center to be developed in Hong Kong in the past 2 decades. It is a new environmentally friendly state-of-the-art cold storage center in Kwai Chung, with the city's first green loan for a logistics center amounting to $8.8 billion. Our group will also establish a new business hub in Dong Chung, which includes a green data center, all of which exemplify our commitment to smart and eco-friendly development. These new developments incorporate innovative structure systems and construction methods, the use of green and recycled materials, and advanced energy systems to minimize the carbon footprint. However, as I mentioned at the beginning, collective actions are needed. It is not only Chinachem Group that is driving this transformation. I must thank our tenants, business partners, and customers, as well as government regulators who play an integral important role in our sustainability journey. The implementation of the Green List initiative would not be successful without the participation of our tenants. The use of MIC for a more sustainable and safer construction would not be possible without building department's assistance. We thank our business partners and all stakeholders for their support in our sustainability journey. Guided by our 3Ps approach, we shall build a better future for all. By working together, we can build a more environmentally conscious society where progress is measured, benefits are shared, and our action leave a lasting positive impact. Last and not least, I'd like to share with you a new kind of partnership platform called CCG Hearts, which encourages us to do good and engage with our communities. I will delve deeper into this topic during my sharing session this afternoon. So stay tuned, and I hope to see many of you again this afternoon during my sharing. Thank you again for your valuable time to attend this conference. Special thanks also go to the Hong Kong Green Building Council for co-organizing this annual conference with us. We also appreciate the collaboration from our 120 supporting organizations. Together, let's shape an inclusive net zero future. Again, my heartfelt thanks to all of our collaborators and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Architect Choi. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you so much for extending your warmest welcome and also to share the important projects that has been done and will be doing by Chinachem Group. Now today, we're most honored to have with us today as our guest of honor, Ms. Bernadette Lin, JP, Secretary for Development of the Government of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. Please put our hands together to welcome Ms. Lin on stage for her opening remarks.
Chinachem Donald, Green Building Council, Tin Chang, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Time flies, and it was 1 year since I last attended this conference. First of all, I would like to thank Chinachem Group and the Hong Kong Green Building Council for continuing this important mission of co-organizing this event for the 4th edition. The theme of this year covers various important topics, all of which are timely. As Donald has mentioned just now, climate change is no longer at a distance, something to be tackled in the longer term. It is something at our doorsteps, and probably something which has started to hurt. In early September, as Donald has mentioned just now, with the 24-hour rainfall giving us over 600 millimeters of rain, this is about 1/4 of the normal annual total rainfall of Hong Kong. Unbelievable, yet very real. Many of us have witnessed or even experienced eye-catching flooding and landslide scenes. While the government have tackled this and put those under control, within hours after the rain has subsided, we cannot afford to be complacent. And that is why we are committed to implementing expeditiously enhanced preventive measures, including $8 billion worth of drainage improvement projects covering areas hard hit by the recent severe floods. We are also exploring ways to adopt new technologies to improve our risk assessment capabilities on meteorological forecasts and alerts, flooding and landslide hazards, transport and traffic, as announced in the recent policy address. The government will continue to actively combat climate change and reduce carbon emissions through smart, green, and resilient design strategies. As also stated in the policy address, the government has published the action agenda for the Northern Metropolis, which is a major source of Hong Kong's future land and housing supply, providing some 3,000 hectares of new development land and over 500,000 new housing flats. The Northern Metropolis, as one of our mega new developments, will be a sustainable carbon-neutral community, helping Hong Kong meet the target of carbon neutrality before 2050. The new development areas therein will adopt resilient designs capable of meeting the challenges of climate change and extreme weather and assuring public safety. In particular, we will adopt smart, green, and resilient city strategy and formulate measures in 3 aspects, namely planning and urban design, infrastructure, and smart mobility. On another front, also an important source of new land supply for Hong Kong, the Gao Yizhou artificial islands, to be formed by reclamation, will provide 1,000 hectares of land and provide those from scratch. The project will provide us with a clean page to try out and think bold on livable, smart, green, and resilient development strategies. We will also reduce carbon emissions through the adoption of green energy and advanced food waste treatment technology. And I'm so glad that our various professional institutes are already putting their heads together as to how to think bold and to introduce the new strategies for the newly reclaimed land. Energy saving and green buildings is one of the 4 major decarbonization strategies and measures leading Hong Kong towards the goal of carbon neutrality. Green building practices will be more and more important in improving our built environment. To lead by example, the government has been striving to enhance the performance of green government buildings. In March this year, the Development Bureau and the Environment and Ecology Bureau have jointly updated our circular of green government buildings to upgrade our targets, which include raising the targets for the use of renewable energy in all of our new schools and educational buildings to further promote the use of renewable energy. And second, providing and improving food waste collection service and treatment facilities. And thirdly, equipping EV charging facilities in all parking spaces in new government buildings to promote the wider use of environmental-friendly vehicles. In September this year, our Buildings Department promulgated the performance-based gross floor area concession mechanism to require new private buildings to achieve a specific rating, specifically the anticipated gold rating, the top tier, under the BEAM Plus, in order to apply for GFA concessions for green and amenity features. If a project can only achieve silver or bronze rating, they still have a chance. But 1 or 2 specific standards on quality building environment must be complied with. We believe that the implementation of this new GFA concession mechanism will further improve the sustainable performance of green buildings in Hong Kong and enhance the quality building environment, such as enhanced greenery provision with more trees, more and better facilities and provisions for health and well-being, enhanced natural ventilation, improving indoor environment of our residential units, and promoting sustainable construction, including the adoption of BIM for promoting construction digitalization and the adoption of MIMEP for promoting high productivity construction. As stipulated in the policy address, the government, through the Environment and Ecology Bureau, will consult the trade this year on the proposal of amending the Buildings Energy Efficiency Ordinance, including extending the scope of regulation to more types of buildings, mandating the disclosure of information in energy audit reports, and shortening the interval of energy audit. Our target is to commence the legislative exercise next year. And of course, when we talk about sustainable building works, we must cover modular integrated construction as one of the innovative high productivity construction methodologies. As Donald has mentioned just now, MIC can uplift work efficiency by reducing site work processes, site labor, and construction period. It can also enhance sustainability and improve site safety. In recent years, we are sparing no efforts to promote wider adoption of MIC and expediting housing supply. We are now working out a strategy to help strengthen the leading regional position of Hong Kong's construction industry in the adoption of MIC. On this front, I am glad to know that Chinachem has shared with us the latest progress of its first high-rise MIC private residential development at Tonkin Street. It is also very encouraging that another sizable high-rise MIC private residential project at Dong Chung is under planning. This new development, as Donald has mentioned just now, will be more than 40-story high and will be the tallest MIC residential development in Hong Kong. Thanks to Chinachem's effort on spearheading this adoption of high-rise MIC building, and I hope we can look forward to more to come from our other developers. Ladies and gentlemen, let us continue to work across disciplines collaboratively and embrace more new ideas and innovative technologies to ensure sustainability in our built environment. I believe that today's conference will be full of sparkling ideas and shining examples. We have to learn and work together for the brighter future of Hong Kong and for our future generations. And I wish you all a fruitful and successful conference today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Lin. Please remain on stage for some group photos. Thank you also for all the hard work you have been doing with your bureau for the betterment of Hong Kong. Now it's time for some flashes, and for the first photo, we would like to invite on stage architect Donald Choi, JP, to join our guest of honor, Ms. Lin, for this first photo. Please welcome architect Choi. Please hold for a few more. Okay, thank you. Please remain on stage. Now we would like to invite Dr. Zheng Tin Cheng, SBS, Chairman of Hong Kong Green Building Council, to join our guest on stage. Please welcome. It's certainly a moment to remember for us. Okay, a few more photos. Okay, thank you. Please continue to remain on stage. Now we would like to invite speakers, moderators, and the organizer of today's conference to come on stage to join our guests for another photo. Please welcome Ms. Audrey Nagent, Director of Global Advocacy, World Green Building Council. Please welcome. Next, let's invite Mr. Wong Chun Fai, JP, Commissioner for Climate Change, Environment and Ecology Bureau, the Government of the Hong Kong SAR. Welcome. Next, please welcome on stage Mr. Ken Chu, Head of Carbon and ESG Products, Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing Limited. Please welcome. Next, let's invite Ms. Carly Leung, Development Director, VR, and Ms. Jasmine Su, Committee, Hong Kong Youth for Climate Action. Please welcome. And then we have engineer Mr. Michael Fong Hock Shane, JP, Director of Civil Engineering and Development, the Government of the Hong Kong SAR. Welcome. Next, we have engineer Dr. Conrad Wong, BBS JP, Vice Chairman, Yao Li Holdings Limited. Please welcome. With that, we also have Ms. Kimberly Lewis Inkumsa, Executive Vice President, Equity, Engagement and Events, International Well-Building Institute, IWBI. Please welcome. And then we have Mr. Lee Sowald, Executive Director, Corporate Services, Uniting Communities Incorporated. Please welcome. Next, we have Dr. Edward Lyman Folk, President, Hong Kong Association of Gerontology. Now let's invite Ms. Sylvia Zhong, Chief Business Impact Officer, Chinachem Group. Welcome. Next, we have Engineer Dr. Carrie Chan, JP, Executive Director, Hong Kong Green Building Council. We also have Engineer Harry Lai, BBS, Deputy Executive Director, Hong Kong Green Building Council. And we also have Mr. Samuel Kwong, General Manager, ESG, Chinachem Group. Please join us on stage. Thank you very much for being here. Now we're all set. Please smile for the cameras at the center. May we also invite our moderator, Professor Christine Low, to join us at this section for this group photo. Perfect. All right, with all of our guests on stage, please stand closer together for this photo. And now let's smile for the cameras at the center. Please hold, we'll take a few more. It's definitely our great pleasure to have all of you joining us today, and we're going to hear from you all for your insights later on. Okay, please hold for a few more, and I have to ensure our official photographer has got the photo. Okay, let's hold for 2 more. And our videographer will be taking a shot from the front. Please smile for the camera at the front right now. Let's give your thumbs up. Yay! Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause to our guests again. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Would all guests please proceed off stage and be seated for now? Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, our photo session is not over yet because we're going to take one photo from the stage with everyone joining us here physically at the ballroom. We'd like to now have our photographer ready on the stage to take this photo for us. 我哋咧而家會喺台上為大家影呢一張嘅全場大合照㗎。咁一陣間咧會邀請大家影好幾張合照，咁大家咧準備好你哋燦爛嘅笑容啦。Okay, we'll take several photos here from the stage. Okay, please have your big smiles ready, and we'll have our photographer ready here on stage as well. Again, we're very, very happy to have all of you joining us today, and it's really important to spread the message of sustainability to a wider community, right? Okay, when we're ready, let me check with our photographer. Are we ready for the photo? Okay, please smile for the camera at the center of the stage. Please hold, and we'll take a few more. Okay, and we'll take a few more there. The next photo, we'll ask you to do a gesture for net zero because we're going to achieve sustainability and carbon neutrality, right? So the net zero gesture is like so. If you would, please put up the net zero gesture and we'll take this photo together. Okay, please hold and we'll take a few more. All right, one more photo with a heart shape, shall we? Because we need to put our hearts to all these hard work, right? Okay, let's take one photo with a heart gesture, whichever way you like the hearts to be like. Okay, you can also form that heart with your neighbor if you would like to. Okay, please hold for a few more. And I think we've got this. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. That's wonderful. Well, I'm sure the photos will look great with every one of you. If you would like to view and download the official photos, please do scan the QR codes showing on the side screens in the ballroom. You'll be able to visit the album and download those photos. Well, we'll now proceed to the speaker's presentation session. And for our first speaker, Ms. Audrey Nagent, Director of Global Advocacy, Royal Green Building Council, she will present the topic, How Policy Can Drive Transformative Change in the Built Environment. Please welcome Ms. Nagent.
Hello. Maybe I'll speak into this mic. It seems a bit easier. So thank you for having me. Thank you to our amazing host, Chinachem, and the Hong Kong Green Building Council. I'm absolutely delighted to be here in Hong Kong with all of you, speaking to you about the work that World Green Building Council does, and specifically in my role as Director of Global Advocacy, how policy change can drive transformative change in our built environment. So really excited to be here to speak to all of you and learn what's happening in this wonderful, wonderful city. So it's already been explained, I think, very articulately this morning that we're actually losing the climate battle. No matter where you are in the world, you are facing the impacts of climate change right now. Where I live, in Europe, we have seen wildfires this year. We're seeing extreme temperatures, and we're also seeing a lot of rainfall that's excessive, and that's something that I've heard is also happening here. So no matter where we are losing the climate battle. So what does that mean? It really means we need to scale up our decarbonisation solutions now. Buildings are responsible for 40% of carbon emissions, 50% of extracted materials, and that's the global impact that we are seeing in our sector. This is huge. And while we are looking at this impact, we are expecting to see the world's building stock to double by 2060. So we have a huge tension point where we already have a very high emitting sector and one that's actually going to grow. But that doesn't mean that those challenges aren't without opportunities. We know that efficient buildings are going to be worth nearly 25 trillion by 2030. But all of this is in the context that, we are facing a very alarming time. So we really need to start looking at what are the solutions and how do we scale them up and what are the avenues that we do this. And I was really excited already to hear from Donald talking about the collaboration and bringing everyone together, because that's where I see we're going to be able to address the science, because the science is very, very alarming. I'm always a bit reluctant to share the information that is coming out of these reports, but I think it's really important to ground us and remind us as to where we are. So these are just reports that have come out in the last year. A lot of them are actually due to be updated this month. But what we're seeing from each of these reports is that the impact of climate change is worsening. The emissions gap in our sector in buildings is widening. If you look here at the closing window, the emissions gap report, what that tells us when it comes to buildings is we need to reduce excess floor area, we need to reduce energy intensity, carbon intensity, and also address the embodied emissions. The State of Climate Action report, that tells us that we need to be looking at driving systems transformation, so looking at the building sector and how do we actually drive systems change there. So that's really alarming. And then we also have, from the UN itself and the IPCC, some extremely concerning reports that if you look at all of the policies that are being put forward to comply with the goals of the Paris Agreement, implementation of those policies as they are will keep us within a 2.5-degree scenario. That's 1 degree more than where we need to be under the terms of the Paris Agreement. So there's a lot of challenges that we're facing. I'm very optimistic that we can meet them. And the reason I'm optimistic is because of the work of our collective network. So World Green Building Council, we are a global network of 75 green building councils, and we're working to accelerate action and implementation solutions for green buildings around the globe. Hong Kong Green Building Council are obviously a member of World Green Building Council, and we work very closely with our green building councils to drive local solutions. And that's what's really important, because as a global organisation, we can only talk so much about what needs to be done. What you really need is local actors on the ground who are delivering those solutions and working with the community, the local community, to bring them forward and to do that implementation piece. So we call ourselves the world's largest regional local action network. We partner with over 60 partners at World GBC level, but actually collectively our 75 plus members across the globe, they represent over 46,000 members. So together we are working to achieve our vision, which is for a sustainable built environment for everyone, everywhere. And the way we're aiming to achieve this is through driving the systemic change that is needed now. So we focus on 3 critical impact areas and 2 levers of change. So we have climate action, resources and circularity, health, well-being, and social equity. And across those 3 impact areas, what we're doing is working to deliver on very ambitious goals for 2030. So when you look at climate action, it's about getting to net zero carbon in operation, but also looking at a 40% reduction in embodied carbon emissions, because as we address the operational challenge, what we're going to see is the share of embodied go up. We also have some very ambitious goals on resources and circularity. We're not going to be able to get to a zero carbon built environment unless we're looking at the circularity challenge. And obviously when we're talking about buildings, we can't just be looking at the carbon impact we have to look at things in a holistic manner. So we also are looking at the health, well-being and social equity. So my job at World Green Building Council is to look at how do we advance those policy levers, because I really believe if we are really going to address the climate challenge and the emissions gap, we need much, much more ambitious policies. Every country who signed up to the Paris Agreement has agreed to submit, they are legally obliged to submit what are called nationally determined contributions. And those NDCs, as we call them, they should set out the collective progress that you're making as a country, as a government, towards the goals of the Paris Agreement. All of the analysis on those NDCs tells us that they're simply not good enough to close the gap. And when it comes to buildings, although some of them mention buildings, they don't go anyway near enough the depth and coverage that we need them to go. So my role at World GBC is to bring together a network of green building councils to come together with common policy asks for buildings. And that's what we've done this year. So just earlier this year, we've published something called Global Policy Principles for a Sustainable Built Environment. These have been developed with all of those 75 green building councils I mentioned. And what we did was we came together and we discussed what are the common challenges that you see in policy and what are the gaps that we need to address in policy globally. And this is what we come up with. We have 7 key principles: carbon, resilience, circularity, water, biodiversity, health, equity, and access. So what we were able to do was get consensus amongst all of those green building councils representing all corners of the globe that if governments are going to update their policies or develop new policies related to buildings, they need to cover these aspects. Obviously, when you're talking about things that are global in nature, it is obviously hard to go into a huge amount of detail. So we have these very high-level principles that we're able to agree on. So for example, if you look at carbon, it's about renovation of existing buildings, looking at operational and embodied across the whole life cycle. We also have principles related to resilience, biodiversity, water, health, equity, and access. And if you go into that document, what you will see then is different levers of change to deliver on that. So for example, if you're speaking to a local government and you want them to update their policies, you can look at these principles and you can say, right, we want to look at carbon. You've got this high-level principle, what else can we do? And what this resource does is it points you to a library of resources that we could, for example, on carbon, looking at minimum energy performance standards, whole life carbon reporting. So what we really want to do with these is to bring the message forward that policy change in the built environment is needed. It's needed specifically on carbon, but it also needs to look at things in a holistic manner and the built environment in an integrated way, and that's really important. And it's really important this year because in 3 weeks' time, there will be a delegate from World Green Building Councils going to Dubai to represent the building sector at COP28. I myself will be going, and the message that we will be bringing to that conference is that governments really need to step up ambition and action, and that they need to be really profiling the importance of buildings as a key solution to deliver on the global goals on the Paris Agreement. So that's extremely important, and the reason it's extremely important this year is because we're halfway through what everyone is calling the decade of action. We're still not seeing the level of action and implementation that we need. So we really want to be championing the built environment voice, but also we are going through a process right now globally called the global stocktake. So at COP28, the conclusion of the global stocktake is going to take place. And the global stocktake is essentially a sense check on what our collective progress towards the goals of the Paris Agreement look like. So not just initiatives from the private or from the public sector, but also from the private sector. And collectively, are we on track? Unfortunately, as you may have guessed, the answer is we are not on track yet. But I believe that if we go with a strong voice and we talk about the solutions that the built environment sector players are playing, we can start closing that gap. So just to give you a bit of a sneak peek on what the global stocktake is saying, because a synthesis report came out in September that gave us a bit of a peek into what the global stocktake might tell us. As I said, it's telling us that we're probably off track. But it encouragingly does recognise the role and potential of buildings, and that is really important because we really want to see the political leaders at COP get behind buildings, because the global stocktake is going to send a signpost on where governments need to fill gaps in their NDCs, and they're obliged to send those NDCs in 2025, and they will start working on them hopefully sooner rather than later. So we really need to get that message across. The other thing we're looking forward to at COP is the announcement of something called the Buildings Breakthrough. So the Breakthrough Agenda is something that was first started at COP26, and essentially it was a bunch of governments representing high-emitting sectors coming together to say, for example, in steel, in power, in hydrogen, we are going to commit to these ambitious goals as a government and drive international collaboration to deliver on them. At COP28, the Breakthrough Agenda is going to be expanded, and we're going to see the launch of the Buildings Breakthrough, and that is being led by France and the Kingdom of Morocco. And what the Buildings Breakthrough calls for is near zero emission and resilient buildings are the new normal by 2030. So it's a very high-level goal again, but then when you look into the detail of what is within that, you will see that, it's talking about, energy efficiency, whole life cycle, how do you actually achieve all of that? And the idea is that governments come to COP, commit themselves to the Buildings Breakthrough, but then actually the real work is actually in the implementation, and that's where I believe there's a role for our network of GBCs and their members to deliver on the Buildings Breakthrough. So we're very much looking forward to the launch of the Buildings Breakthrough. And the message that we're really bringing to COP this year is one of confidence. What we want to do at COP is build confidence that, as World GBC and a network of local GBCs, we know that we can make the transition to a sustainable future a reality. GBCs already have the solutions to help governments and business to build that transition to energy efficient, regenerative and just future. And governments can have confidence that GBCs can support them in the delivery of any ambitious policies that they might sign up to at COP. And also to businesses, I think I'm preaching to the converted here, but to demonstrate to them that sustainability is not going to hurt their bottom line. And that message of confidence is something that we really, really want to see, because what we want to see in the negotiated outcome at COP is real progress when it comes to our built environment sector, and that policymakers really understand that our sector is responsible for 40% and that they have an opportunity to close that gap by taking action. And here I just have a couple of logos of some of the projects that we do, where we can actually say, this is the confidence that we have. So we have our Building Life project in Europe, which is all about tackling whole life carbon, operational and embodied. We've developed an EU policy roadmap on how that will happen at the EU level, but also our national green building councils are working on that at the national level. We've our Advancing Net Zero project, which I know many of you in the room will have gotten behind and the Hong Kong Green Building Council have worked on. And that's all about how do we get to net zero, and is now looking as well at embodied emissions as well, and also the Circularity Accelerator. So we know through our projects, through our programs, through our GBCs and our partners that we have the solutions. And this is a bit of a call to action. I know there's many people in the room. There's many people who are joining online. One of the things that we will be doing as World GBC alongside our partners is to really put this message of confidence out there. And we're going to be putting an open letter to be published halfway through COP to really do a rallying call to the negotiators to say the building sector has a role to play, and here is 46,000 organisations, if we really hit our goal, who can support that. So you should be getting correspondence about that in the next couple of days via your local GBC. And I would really encourage you to sign up to that call to action and demonstrate that collective confidence that we can all have in policy change and the fact that we can all bring the solutions. So I will leave you on that note. I have much more to say on policy, but I only had 20 minutes. So if you have any questions or want to hear about any of the policy changes that we're working on, I'd be more than happy to speak to any of you over the lunch break or the course of any of the breaks. So thank you for your attention, and I look forward to hearing from the rest of the speakers and hearing what's happening in this wonderful city.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Nagent. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you for enlightening us and sharing the work that World Green Building Council has been doing. Thank you. Now, let us welcome on stage Mr. Wong Chun-fai, JP, Commissioner for Climate Change, Environment and Ecology Bureau, the Government of the Hong Kong SAR, who will be sharing on the topic, Promoting Sustainable Development, Striving Towards Carbon Neutrality. Please welcome Mr. Wong.
Morning, everybody. First of all, I must thank Donald for inviting me to share at today's Chinachem Group Sustainability Conference 2023. My sharing today will be promote sustainable development, striving towards carbon neutrality. Let me get hold of how to use this PowerPoint. Okay. Climate action, Climate action is one of the 17 sustainable development goals, which global leaders has adopted in the 2015 UN summit. And for Hong Kong, our ambitions is to achieve carbon neutrality before 2050. Some of you may want to ask, why carbon neutrality? Why is it relevant with the sustainable development of the construction or building industry? Let me start with this extreme weather, which a lot of speakers will touch on. In just the summer we passed, it is according to the World Meteorological Organization, it's the hottest summer we experienced around the world in our record history. The sea surface temperature is also unprecedentedly high in this summer. And apart from the hot summer, apart from the rising temperature, apart from this global warming, actually there are more extreme events, climate events, including super typhoon and flooding and rainstorms. And this is becoming more frequent. So just in the past few months, many of us may be aware that there are a lot of severe flooding events across different parts of the world, including Hong Kong and Beijing in the Asia, Libya in the Middle East, as well as New York City in the North America. In Hong Kong, as the Secretary, as Development has touched on, we have a record high annual hourly rainfall of 150 millimeter. And also, we record over 600 millimeter in just rainfall in just 24 hours. So some of you may wonder, how big is it? How large is it? 600 millimeter. I asked some friends in the Hong Kong Observatory. It's more than the annual rainfall of some belongs to cities such as Melbourne and one more, New York City. So we had the rainfall in just one day against those annual rainfall in other cities. So international scientists has come to the consensus that, one, extreme weather is related with climate change. Two, if we don't want to experience more extreme climate scenario, we need to act now. We need to achieve carbon neutrality around the middle of this century. And number three, if we don't invest in carbon neutrality nowadays, we need to pay for even more in remediation, in recovery of the damage we will be facing in these extreme weather events. To combat global climate change, the Paris Agreement was adopted by nearly 200 countries in 2015. It was the first ever universal legally binding global climate deal, aiming to curb the global warming to 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius as compared with pre-industrial level. Under the Paris Agreement, individual countries has to contribute to the carbon neutrality target, what we term the NDC, National Determined Contribution. To meet this obligation under the Paris Agreement, China aims to, A, have the carbon emission peak before 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality before 2060. And in Hong Kong, to tie in with this national dual carbon goal, we are striving towards meeting the carbon neutrality before 2050. And we have another interim goal is to cut half of our emission by 2035. As mentioned before, the building industry has a vital contribution to our global carbon emission footprint. It represents the building stock represent about 40% of the global building carbon emissions. So any action from the building industry would be important in terms of realizing this carbon neutral pathway in a city as well as around the world. Apart from contribution towards carbon neutrality, I must emphasize that the building industry is also facing with challenges and risks associated with climate change. And this risk will compose of two parts: the physical risk, which many of us experience or know about it, and the other one is transition risk. I will talk more about transition risk today. For the physical risk, it will be associated with the more frequent extreme weather, which disrupt our supply chain, increase the cost of building material and insurance, and bring more difficulties to complete building project on time. And for the transition risk, is actually evolving from the change of technologies and market demand. It's also evolved from the change of standard and regulation, which is the game plan or the rules of the game of the building industry. And I want to highlight that, and many of us know that if we are not acting enough to combat or to address the climate risk, individual corporations will be facing with problem in raising finance for their new building project. Yes. To transform Hong Kong into a green city, the government has been taking lead in adopting of low carbon and sustainable technologies in building projects. In the following slides, I will just quote some examples. This is the Kowloon East and Kai Tak development area. This is one of the first new development area we built in Hong Kong, which adopt the kind of smart, green, and resilient concept. It promotes the development or the development of green buildings to realize the kind of carbon reduction in the whole development area. For government project, we adopt low carbon designs to reduce the carbon footprint, and for private sector project, we introduce the kind of land lease measures to promote, to encourage the private sector to develop green buildings. And as of middle of this year, I think around 70 projects in this area has already been certified with by Green Building Council. Apart from the development of energy efficient buildings, the provision of smart and green infrastructure is also important in taking forward the whole district in reducing its carbon footprint. For this Kowloon East area, this is the first district we provide with district cooling system. District cooling system is 35% more energy efficient than traditional air-cooled central air conditioning system. And more importantly, the adoption of district cooling system also reduces the overall installing capacity required for the whole districts. And this reduces the amount of material, the space required for the provision of aircon in the area. With the adoption of other environmental features in this district cooling system, the project has additional gain. Beyond the Kai Tak area, this is another example about low carbon or green building. We heard about the adoption of MIC, modular integrated construction, in a lot of projects nowadays. But this one was completed in 2021. This was the first government project to adopt MIC in high-rise building. It was the merited quarters of the FSD in Tseung Kwan O area. By now, we will be seeing more construction building projects adopting MIC. When mentioning green infrastructure, I must mention about this O-Park 2. O-Park 2 is a kind of facility, waste-to-energy facility for the treatment of food waste in Hong Kong. Many friends know that food waste account for around 30% of our waste produced every day in Hong Kong. And this project is more than just treating the waste to reduce our carbon footprint in waste. It's also the first project with an aim to achieve carbon neutrality during the construction. it adopts a lot of innovative carbon reduction measures in the design and construction of the project, including the use of carbon fixation bricks based on carbon capture and utilization storage technologies. It also used fiber or iron modified cement for the construction. It used DFMA and MIC to reduce the carbon footprint to minimize the energy used. To manage the low carbon transition in the building industry, I would encourage everybody in the industry to understand more about climate strategies in Hong Kong. And those in the following slide, I will touch a bit on the climate strategies we are adopting in Hong Kong. This is the climate action plan we published in October 2021. It set out 4 deep decarbonization strategy for Hong Kong to tackle the major source of carbon emission in Hong Kong, including power generation, transport, and waste disposal. And the 4 strategies are named here as net zero electricity generation, energy saving and green building, green transport, and waste reduction. I would like to highlight that for the building industry, all these 4 strategies are relevant. It's one of the kind of industry I can find in Hong Kong which has all these 4 strategies relevant. So that is why important in today's meeting. Electricity generation. Around 60% of our carbon emission is related with electricity generation in Hong Kong. Over the past few years, we have been switching progressively from the use of coal to lower carbon natural gas. And in the years to come, we will be switching from more to renewable and low carbon and actually zero carbon energy. Apart from developing regional collaboration to ride on the green transition of the Greater Bay Area, we are also developing local solutions for low carbon energy. So in the policy address just announced by the CE a few days ago, the government will develop a strategy for the development of hydrogen application in Hong Kong. And we hope that with this strategy, we will be partnering with the local industry to explore and adopt the kind of net zero energy in Hong Kong. So for the construction industry, we noticed that over the years, they have been switching to, for example, to more green practice. For example, the adoption of electrification system in site construction, and also in the adoption of more renewable energy in construction sites, such as PV and biodiesels. And looking ahead, we hope that the industry can ride on the kind of government support to develop more solutions for zero energy in site preparation and site construction. This is the hot topic today, energy saving and green building. So many of these measures were mentioned by speakers before, and I will not go into details of it, but I would like to highlight that the second bullet point on the 2024, which is another green measures and other policy measures announced in the recent policy address, is the progressive extension of carbon audit practice into public infrastructures, more than building, into structures. And this is the kind of initiative the government is trying to take the lead in the adoption of carbon management, more sustainable carbon management in our operation. The red arrows below is just showing the kind of commitment and target we are trying to achieve before 2050. And for the building industry, we see that there are lots of effort in the adoption of natural-based and energy-saving design nowadays. And we believe that this is very important in bringing down the carbon emission of the industry. And we also note that there are more frequent adoption of smart energy management to reduce the operational stage carbon of buildings. Green transport. You know that Hong Kong has been very aggressive in terms of promoting electric vehicle over the past few years. And I'm more happy to share with you that in just this year, in the first half of this year, more than 6 out of 10 newly registered vehicles in Hong Kong were EV. And in the years to come, we will shift the focus to the electrification of public transport and commercial vehicle. And by 2035, we will be ceased the new registration of fuel-propelled or hybrid vehicle, private vehicle. Waste reduction. Waste accounts for about 8% of the carbon footprint in Hong Kong. And in the coming year, 2024, we will be implementing municipal solid waste charging with a will to provide an incentive for everybody to minimize the amount of waste and those the reliance on landfill. In the years to come, we will be seeing more waste-to-energy facilities, including the OPAC 2, as well as the first waste-to-energy facilities for municipal solid waste in the territory. We hope that we could stop relying on landfill by 2035. Over the years, we have been paying attention and focus in developing the resilience of our city and also to take measures to adapt to the climate change environment. We have been improving our drainage infrastructure. We have been implementing landslide prevention program. We have been preparing emergency response plan in Hong Kong, and all these are contributed to the resilience of the city. In the years to come, we expect more collaboration between the government and the private sector in developing a resilient city in Hong Kong. Climate change not only brings constraints and risks, it also brings opportunity to the sector. In the coming 15 to 20 years, the government is expected to invest more than $240 billion in climate mitigation and adaptation measures. And with the kind of development in green technologies and green finance, we expect that the industry will meet with helping hands in this area in the carbon neutrality journey. Time is up for me. Time is also up for the group in combating climate change. In the years to come, we need to have more collaboration, more innovation, and more collective action in taking forward the carbon neutrality target. And I hope that with the support of the industry, we will be having more innovation and we will be having more commitments. And the Climate Office we established earlier this year is glad to have more collaboration with the industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Wong. Please be seated. And we truly appreciate all the hard work and effort that the government has been putting into Hong Kong and help us move towards carbon neutrality. Thank you once again for the informative presentation. Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the conference. I hope you enjoyed the refreshments and the informative exhibition outside. Well, coming up next, we have two young climate advocates who are going to enlighten us with their young voices for the planet and our city. Please join me and welcome them on stage. And they are Ms. Carly Leung, Development Director from FIER, and Ms. Jasmine Su, Committee, Hong Kong Youth for Climate Action. Please welcome our two young ladies.
Thank you for the invitation and for Chinachem Group and HKGBC for organizing the conference. I'm Carly. Today I'm excited to be here along with Jasmine to share with you some thoughts on our climate journeys and how as youth would like to contribute to the city. But instead of telling you some very general facts, I would rather share my story with you all. My passion for environmental issues has started since my journey to Uganda. In my final year of my undergraduate studies, I joined a program organized by my university at that time and got a chance to travel to Uganda and Nepal. So I stayed there for 2 weeks with the local people to investigate their challenges in response to climate change. And that was my first time witnessing the people being severely affected by climate change at the very front line. Since then, it's inspired a lot of work that I'm doing, such as working with the UNDP and UNEP with my advisory work, and also related to climate justice and setting up my own initiatives. I have faced a lot of challenges throughout the way, but it opens the doors for me to explore more climate-related topics and connect with different people around the world. And that includes Jasmine. Now I would like to invite Jasmine to share her extensive experience and insights regarding youth work on the ground.
So, hi everyone, I'm Jasmine, and thank you, Carly, for sharing. She'll dig into COP later. So before we dig into the following topic, I would like to clarify what defines youth, because it might surprise you. According to Young Goal, under UNFCCC, it means people who are between 18 to 35, which in my opinion, they are young adults who are usually ambitious, creative, fast learning, and have so much potential. In the next few minutes, I will talk about how we can facilitate innovative solutions with young adults, as well as to ignite this sense of capability, which are critical to turn all these amazing ideas into reality and actions. So this is a picture of me at LCOI. LCOI stands for Local Conference of Youth, which is a conference that are welcoming all the youth in Hong Kong to share their ideas for a greener and more sustainable future that they would like to live in, because they are the future. This is in 2022. And in this slide, this is a picture from this year's LCOI, which actually, CCIL, Carbon Care Inner Lab, they has been holding LCOI annually since 2020. And every year, Carly and I, we've seen so many talented young adults that join our workshops and discussions that covers numbers of climate-related topics. And LCOI actually provides a platform for youth who aren't sure where or how to start their own sustainability journey, and is a great opportunity for them to meet other passionate youth and individuals that have deeper conversations with them than any other daily conversations, because all of them who gather at LCOI, they are passionate about sustainability and climate change. And they also get to learn and mingle, but the most important thing is they get to get a clearer picture of their role when it comes to global issues. And then another efficient way to include general youth in creating solutions are some youth dialogue sessions. Youth with diverse background gather in small groups, and we will guide them and let them brainstorm step by step to create some of the solutions for global issues such as climate change related issues. And now for them, the issues is not a cluster of problem anymore, and they get to see a clear timeline and feasible solutions and goals. And in this case, it helps them to understand how they could solve a problem as a youth. and also is a fabulous way for new perspectives to be expressed and heard as well. And often this is something we need the most because as youth, we don't have too much opportunity to speak at big occasions like today, which we are very thankful for Chinachem that providing this opportunity for youth to speak to you all. And also because it's very important to create a sense of capability for youth when they know their opinions are valued, and so they could carry on their own journey on sustainability. And I think it matches one of today's theme as well, which is to embrace diversity and build an inclusive community. And this is a picture of El Khoi. You can see all the youth, they're very engaging and they are very hopeful for our future, actually. And apart from supporting all these platforms for youth to brainstorm and express comfortably, I think it's very important to have knowledge interflow because we cannot lack knowledge interflow between youth and senior professionals. We need innovative ideas, new technologies, but more importantly, we need resources, experience, network, and way more to make things happen. Therefore, it's crucial for both youth and senior professionals to work together and bring something to the table together and turn ideas into reality in this ever-changing world. Thank you. Now, let me pass it back to Carly, and she'll share about her experience at COP27 last year and also our expectation at COP28. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine, for her sharing. And as a fellow participant of El Khoi, I'm truly inspired by the commitment demonstrated by young people like Jasmine. And it's not only encouraging to witness their active engagement in topics related to sustainable cities, climate change in general, and ESG, but also to see them translate their words into tangible actions. Our dedication goes beyond the boundaries of Hong Kong. Jasmine and I are continuously working together, exploring different areas within the climate space, and strengthening their connections between Hong Kong, the region, and international climate discussions. I'm honored to share that last year, I had the privilege of being selected as the UN Youth Delegates to participate in COP27 in Egypt. This invaluable experience allowed me to contribute to global climate conversations and further amplify the voices of youth on the international stage. And there I got a chance to meet all kinds of people, from policymakers to youth groups, from corporates and UN agencies. I remember joining one of the conversations with strategic advisor on climate change of the World Bank. During the conversation, I asked questions related to renewable energy transitions and green jobs development, understanding what would work and what would not. One of the most unforgettable experiences was to join the closing of the COP27. I still remember I waited outside of the conference room until midnight and went back to the venue again at 4 a.m. During the closing, I heard about the desperation of the island countries, and we also heard the delays in mitigation. I joined the last intervention with other youth to share our opinions towards the final outcomes of the conference and to further consolidate my will in the fight against climate change. As we anticipate the upcoming COP28, as mentioned by other speakers as well, one of the crucial topics that will dominate the climate conference is the global stock-taking process. This process serves as a vital assessment of the progress made by countries in their climate actions. Today, I stand before you as a youth climate advocate, urging all of us to recognize the responsibility and potential that lies within Hong Kong. Hong Kong, as part of China, has a crucial obligation to implement the Paris Agreement. Moreover, with its unique capacities and resources, it possesses the potentials to surpass many other Asian cities in achieving our climate goals. However, we must go beyond our current efforts in limiting the global temperature rise. As an international city, Hong Kong must set an example for others to follow. COP28 presents us with an extraordinary opportunity to transform our ambitious visions into tangible climate actions. As we gather at the summit, we must prioritize the completion of the first global stocktake, evaluating the pace of countries' actions. Additionally, we must secure updates of our NDCs, ensuring that our emissions reduction targets remain aligned with the evolving climate emergency. In this crucial moment, cities like Hong Kong have a significant role to play, and we must respond to the growing calls for broader leadership in climate action. By fostering collaboration, we can work towards just solutions that benefit vulnerable communities worldwide. Let us embrace the opportunities that COP28 presents, together with unwavering determination and collective action. We can shape a sustainable future for generations to come. May our efforts inspire and ignite global movements towards a greener, more resilient planet. Thank you. Let us pave the way for a brighter and more sustainable future.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Carly and Jasmine, for sharing your voices. Thank you. Please be seated. Another big round of applause to our young ladies, please. Totally moved by their passion towards spreading the message of pushing sustainability forward. Thank you so much. Well, for the next speaker, he's going to talk to us about sustainability planning of Hong Kong Northern Metropolis and Kau Yi Chau Artificial Islands. Please welcome on stage Engineer Michael Fong Hock Ching, JP, Director of Civil Engineering and Development, the Government of the Hong Kong SAR.
Good morning, Donald, Tin Chang, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now, first of all, I'd like to thank particularly the Chinachem group for inviting me to share with you all today about the government's efforts in providing or in planning the Northern Metropolis and Kau Yi Chau Artificial Islands to become a sustainable and livable city. Now, to set my presentation on this important matter in a proper context, I'd like to briefly talk about the spatial development strategy for Hong Kong first. Now, a very important document promulgated by the Development Bureau and the Planning Department in October 2021, which is the Hong Kong 2030 Plus, which set out the territorial spatial development strategy for Hong Kong beyond 2030. Now, with assessments on the overall demand and supply of land over a 30-year period from 2019 to 2048. Now, in a nutshell, the strategy represents the government's commitment to responding to the housing and social needs while capitalizing the economic development opportunities brought by the National 14th Five-Year Plan, 14規劃, and the outline development plans for the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area, 粵港澳大灣區發展規劃綱要, which expressly support Hong Kong in enhancing our status as an international financial center and the positioning of Hong Kong development into an international center for innovation and technology. Now, the spatial framework shows a close-knit network of two metropolises shown on this slide. Now, namely the Harbour Metropolis at the south and the Northern Metropolis at the north. Now, for the Harbour Metropolis, the developments for the Kau Yi Chau Artificial Islands will provide the needed development space for enhancing our financial and commercial services and status. Whereas for the Northern Metropolis, now given its closeness to Shenzhen's core metropolitan core and IT base, it can deepen the cooperation between Shenzhen and Hong Kong for developing Hong Kong into an international INT center and become Hong Kong's new engine for economic development. Now, for the Gaoyizhou artificial islands in the harbor metropolis, it involves the creation of artificial islands of about 1,000 hectares by reclamation in the waters between Hong Kong Island and the Lantau, for comprehensive planning of livable and sustainable communities and the development of a new Central Business District 3 of about 100 hectares. Now, the entire artificial islands will accommodate about 190,000 to 210,000 residential flats for about 500,000 to 550,000 people, and providing, at the same time, some 270,000 job opportunities. As for the Northern Metropolis, it covers an area of about 30,000 hectares, which is around 1/3 of Hong Kong's total. Now, it encompasses the Yunnan and the North districts covering existing new towns in Yunnan, Tin Shui Wai, Fanlan, and Shanshui, etc., and various new development areas at different planning and development stages, as well as their neighboring areas. Now, the entire Northern Metropolis will provide over 500,000 new residential flats, and upon full development, can accommodate a total population of 2.5 million and create some 500,000 new jobs. Now, just about 2 weeks ago, the government announced the Northern Metropolis Action Agenda, setting out the development positioning of four major zones in it and the features of their future development. Now, the government aspired to create vibrant, livable, and sustainable communities in these two major development projects for our next generations. Now, in order to achieve our vision and goal, we have adopted a set of sustainable development strategies, now including sustainable planning and urban design strategy, a comprehensive smart, green, and resilient city strategy, and a proactive conservation and urban-rural integration strategy in planning these two metropolises. Now, on the sustainable planning and urban design, we have attached much importance to adopting the blue-green network concept for development of our communities. Now, for the Gaoyizhou artificial islands, the overall planning of the project comprises 3 islands, which forms a Y-shaped channel separating the islands. Now, these blue-green water corridors serve multiple purposes. First, it is needed to effectively minimize the impact of reclamation on water quality and marine ecology by maintaining sufficient water flow velocity in the waters nearby. Second, it avoids the direct impact of the artificial islands on the hard coral communities with ecological values along the shorelines of existing islands. Last but not least, the corridors thus formed will provide residents of the islands a more enjoyable water environment. Now, on the artificial islands, a comprehensive blue-green network comprising water bodies and green spaces will be planned to provide not just for serving its drainage function, but more importantly, provides a variety of recreation and sports opportunities for people living and working on the islands, which can also help create a diverse range of flora and fauna habitats to enhance biodiversity. Now, CDD also endeavors to create a more sustainable living environment on the artificial islands through the provision of eco shorelines for enhancing marine biodiversity while serving its coastal protection function. Now, the underlying principle is to incorporate ecological concepts into the design of the artificial shorelines. Now, they include enhanced seawall panels and ecological armoring units that provide an uneven and rough surface for allowing organic matters and algae to attach and grow. Now, some of them can also retain seawater during low tides, which can prevent marine species from dying from dehydration due to long exposure to the sun. Now, we have just finished a study of the eco-shorelines in Dongchong. Now, the screen here shows our trial sites. Very, very encouraging results have been observed, as reflected by the rich colony of marine species attracted to it. Now, not only the Kaohsiung Artificial Islands projects. Now, in the planning of the Northern Metropolis, different blue-green networks will be formed. For example, the Suntin teleport, we are planned to revitalize 2 existing drainage channels and convert them into comprehensive blue-green networks. Now, the planning adopts the ecological urbanism concept. Now, large open spaces and riverside communities will be created. River revitalization is a key recreation node for the Suntin teleport. It creates a riverine experience for commuters by seamlessly integrating drainage channels with public open spaces. Now, it will also enhance flood resilience, contribute nature and recreation opportunities, and more importantly, enhance biodiversity through the creation of a diverse range of habitats, such as water bodies, intertidal zones, forests, greenlands, etc. Now, the blue-green networks will provide habitats to forest the ecological variety in the communities. Now I would like to briefly introduce the Smart, Green, and Resilient Cities strategy that we have adopted, which are applicable to both the Kaohsiung Artificial Islands and the Northern Metropolis. Now, first of all, we adopt a 15-minute neighborhood concept for the planning of the living communities. Each community will have a green mass transit station at the center, with other public transport stations, daily shopping and dining facilities, community facilities, open spaces, etc., within 15 minutes reach, either by walking or cycling. Now, the SGR strategy will also cover a whole array of integrated initiatives and measures, including the sponge city design comprising sustainable urban drainage system, such as porous pavements, bioswale, retention tanks, etc. Now, the sponge city design could enhance our resilience against intense rainfall and alleviate flooding risks. Also, we will put in place a comprehensive network of renewable energy facilities, in particular solar energy panels, to harvest clean energy to support the city operation. District cooling system to provide chilled water from its central source to serve multiple buildings will also be in place to optimize the use of energy resources. The desalination plant will be built as part of the government's strategy to enhance the resilience of water supply in Hong Kong to combat the impact of climate change. We will construct food waste and sewage sludge co-digestion facilities. They are the municipal infrastructure of our new generation community for handling our waste in an environmentally friendly manner. Now, extensive common utility tunnels will be constructed to house various underground utilities. Now, this common utility tunnel will effectively avoid public disturbance and the associated energy consumption and waste generation arising from road excavation for laying and maintenance of underground utilities. Now, we will also develop smart mobility in our new communities to enable low-carbon commuting. The measures include comprehensive pedestrians and cycle track networks to allow residents to travel by healthy modes, such as walking or cycling from their homes to different destinations to obtain various necessities within 15 minutes. Extensive supporting facilities for electric and other new energy vehicles will also be developed. Now, our third sustainable development strategy is proactive conservation and urban-rural integration. And this is more specifically applicable to the context of the Northern Metropolis. Now, as we all know, the Northern Metropolis has rich cultural and natural resources. Now, in particular, the Maipo, the inner debate has been listed as wetland of international importance under the Ramsar Convention. Now, this wetland has extensive intertidal mudflats backed by mangroves, tidal stream ponds, fish ponds, and riverbed, now serving as an important overwintering and resting site for migratory birds during their migrations. Now, the Hong Kong AFCD, Agricultural, Fisheries and Conservation Department, has commissioned a strategic study on development of a wetland conservation park system with a view to enhancing the environmental capacity of the Northern Metropolis. Now, at present, some parts of this area has been gradually degrading over the years or subjected to threat by unauthorized developments. The Northern Metropolis will provide the opportunity for us to enhance the environmental capacity of these areas through proactive conservation and restoration. Now, lastly, I would like to talk about the government's efforts in pursuing the urban-rural integration, using the Shentin teleport as an example to illustrate. Now, as the backbone of the second economic engine of Hong Kong, the Shentin teleport will be developed into a complete INT ecosystem. Now, through providing sufficient INT land, attracting talents, and pooling various INT enterprises. Now, situated between two very distinct natural features and landforms, our aspiration is to make the Shentin teleport becoming a landmark showcasing the integration between urban, rural, and indeed nature as well. Now, featuring the low-lying plains of wetlands to the north and the scenic lateral hills and mountains to the south, which are intermixed with traditional villages and declared monuments in the center. Now, the integration between these features is the key planning consideration of the Shentin teleport in order to create an innovative, livable, and positive community synergized with the natural environment. Now, to achieve the goal of urban-rural nature integration, the key planning principles for the Shentin teleport are, first, we will maintain the existing ecological capital, such as acre trees, bird flight paths, wetlands, and woodland habitats. Second, we will provide continuous landscape for habitat creation and natural activities to benefit both human and ecological systems, as well as the connectivity with cultural heritages. Third, we will provide green linkages for not only people, but also wildlife to promote circulation among urban, rural, and nature. Now, our vision is to create a vibrant teleport with balanced green spaces and nature encounter, maximizing climate resilience and biodiversity potential, which does not exist in the congested urban area in our current days. Now, different measures will be developed to achieve such a urban-rural nature integration. Measures like eco-corridors or eco-interface will be put in place. It serves as a buffer between the ecologically sensitive wetland areas and the proposed new development areas to minimize human disturbance to natural habitats and to enhance biodiversity. Robust connection to various resources will also be provided. Now, connectors in the form of footways or cycle tracks will be provided to improve the external connectivity between the existing rural villages and the comprehensively planned GIC facilities in the Shantin Teleport. Now, those connectors will also serve as rural trail to respect the cultural heritage resources, which will add diversity, cultural diversity to the Shantin Teleport. The connectors will also be provided to existing hiking trails to utilize the mountain as a backdrop to promote nature and healthier lifestyle of the Shantin community. Ladies and gentlemen, now taking forward the development of the Khao Yai artificial islands and the Northern Metropolis is definitely fraught with many challenges, but at the same time, provide great opportunities for us to realize our overarching planning vision to make Hong Kong a more livable, competitive, and sustainable city for people to live, work, and play. I'm looking forward to joining hands with you all here today in our journey to make this vision happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Engineer Fong, for sharing the projects with us. Thank you. These projects will help Hong Kong to become more sustainable, and we can't wait to see these major developments in Hong Kong. Thank you again. Our next speaker is going to speak to us on the topic, latest technology to safeguard the wellness of workers and the occupants, construction industry with robotics and artificial intelligence. Please join us on stage, Engineer Dr. Conrad Wong, BBSJP, Vice Chairman of Yao Li Holdings Limited. Welcome.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you very much for Donald and Chinachem invitations. Many of you may know that I was the ex-chairman of Hong Kong GBC. So coming back for Hong Kong GBC event is just like coming back home. It's really, really enjoyable. And my last name, my Chinese name is actually called Chinachem as well. So you have two Chinachengs working for Hong Kong GBC or previously before. So it's quite fun. All right, I'm going to talk about construction safety because a sustainable city requires a sustainable workforce. And without site safety, we cannot have sustainable workforce. This is my, I'm asked to do so. As you know, Hong Kong is embarking a major construction boom in the next 15, 20 years. And there are lots of construction work, and we do need to have importation of labor. But recently, there are too many accidents been happening on site. And I think a lot of different parties are trying to reduce the accident risk. Today, I would like to share with you a little bit of our company technologies that we've been adopting so to help to reduce accident on site. First of all, I would like to stress that in my company, I really don't emphasize safety first. I emphasize safety is an integral part of construction management. So if you really have to think about it, there's no safety management. There's only construction management, because every single aspect within the construction activities you should consider to be safe. So the first thing that we need to do is control the workers' registrations. Who are they? How have they been trained properly? So nowadays, we actually have facial recognition system. As you can see in my PowerPoint, So every worker has to hold a smart card and pre-register. So when they come to our site, we know exactly who they are, have they been trained, what license they actually have. Without this kind of control, you really cannot start to have construction safety. And of course, nowadays, we have a lot of people using smartphone. So we integrate a lot of safety management system into our smartphone. So when our foreman, safety officer doing inspection on site, they can actually take the record from a smartphone and then send it to our subcontractors and workers accordingly. So this is just a little bit of a video.
The foreman can use a QR code to retrieve detailed works information at the location, such as floor plans in real time. By selecting the inspection trade, the inspection form will be automatically open for the foreman to inspect each area in detail. Through the built-in camera, the foreman can easily take photos of defects and put markings and comments on the photos. The foreman does not need to sort out the photos later, making the process highly efficient. With an advanced voice recording function, the foreman can provide more descriptive comments and clear instructions for subcontractors to follow up. Comments from the client representatives or consultants can be recorded through the mobile and shared to the project team in real time. With the job dispatch function, the foreman can assign a follow-up person to whom the defect report will be sent accordingly. The follow-up contractor will receive a notification on their mobile device containing details such as photos, markups and voice instructions to facilitate rectification work. The follow-up contractor can easily coordinate with the worker for the remedial works. The contractor can use the mobile device to take photos of the work done and send them to the site foreman once the job is completed.
We are also...
The project manager can review the inspection reports on tablets or iPad in real time. VH Smart Tablet facilitates safety supervisors to retrieve safety instructions at any time, any location. The safety supervisor can view the method statements from VH Smart Tablet. No additional preparation is required. VH Smart can automatically prepare worker attendance reports and calculate wages for accounts department to quickly process electronic wage payments to workers.
So as you can see, using smartphone, we integrated not only safety recording, also quality, wages monitoring, it's all integrated in the single platform. So that's what I mean when we're talking about safety. It's not talking about safety alone, but also the entire construction management. We are recently developing a IoT device, which we are integrating in what we call a smart condoler. Because in every construction project, we have a lot of condolers on site, and we have to make sure the condolers, the people using it, the worker using it, are properly trained, and they actually will record it, all the training devices, the PPE are properly addressed before the condoler can be functions. So we developed this system now. So my foreman have a smartphone checking all the worker registrations, the safety training, and then checking all the condoler. When they are satisfied, they will send the information back to our head office, where a safety officer look at it. And then when they press button OK, then the condoler can actually turned on. Otherwise, it will not be able to function. So this is what smart condoler is going to talk about. Well, maybe I just share with you a video. This is another similar device using scaffolding, truss-out scaffolding. We use that a lot for our construction maintenance work. So nowadays we have this gates that we set up, this the black one, so that the worker have this. Do the inspection, send all this inspection back to our head office, where the safety officer look at it, satisfied, and then press the button before the door can be opened, the gate can be opened, and then they actually can function. I'm sorry, this is actually in Chinese, but I think you can get this gesture of it. So this foreman is actually doing all the inspection now. So if you're satisfied with the inspection, you're checking all these workers' training records. and every detail within the gondola, the PPE of the workers, and then send this information to our safety officer. He look at this and it's okay. Then he press a button. Then the gondola is actually turned on. Similar concept for the truss-out scaffolding. The reason why we use IoT device because the cost. Because normal 4G, you talk about $150, $200 per month. But IoT device, the bandwidth are very small, it's about 3 or 4K per second, but it only costs about $15 to $20 per month. So even though I have 1,000 of them in my site, it's still not going to cost much. It's actually quite doable. Another project that we are doing is actually using robots to do the cutting of the power head and then welding the power plates on top. This is actually quite hazardous job, and now our welders are getting aging. Many of them is over 55 years old. So using robots can actually replace their work and then remove the hazard altogether. Let's see, yeah. So that's another point. There's another is about our AI solutions for confined space. When a worker is actually inside the confined space, the AI system can actually detect it, and where the worker feel unwell, lie down or sitting down, the system will alarm the safety officers so that we know exactly how to monitor exactly the health situation of the workers. And of course, he's wearing all these gas detections gadgets, so that all this information also sent back to our central head office.
Safety is the top priority of the construction industry. We have to take different proactive measures to keep workers safe. Unfortunately, a fatal industrial accident occurred in sewer manholes in December of 2021, causing the death of 3 workers and injuries to a number of. Therefore, it is crucial to protect workers and prevent similar accidents from happening. With over a decade of experience in the MEP industry, REC proactively develops applications with AI video analytics technology, AI video analytics solution for confined space monitoring. The innovation measures include a distress alarm will be triggered when the worker's pose is frozen or found in a horizontal lying position for more than 15 seconds. The trigger alarm will automatically pop up to alert the site personnel for prompt action. The real-time images inside and outside the confined space can be monitored by on-site and off-site personnel, which enables standby personnel to react immediately if an undesirable situation happens. As a result, the chance of fatal accidents can be significantly reduced. A 4-in-1 gas detector is integrated to continuously monitor the air quality in the confined space. If the safe range is exceeded, the alarm will notify the worker to leave promptly.
So this is actually not an extremely high-tech AI. It's just recognizing the body shape and the posture of the workers. But this is actually very effective. We implement this in many of my sites for confined space. So it gives an extra layer of safety for the workers. Last, I want to introduce you another AI solution that we've been developed recently for danger zone. There are a lot of lifting area in a construction site that we call danger zone. So only the designated worker can go inside that particular zone to do the construction work. How do we stop that? How do we ensure that? This device is actually helping us to make sure that only the designated worker, the trained worker, can go inside, and then we have a CCTV monitoring the area. If they count the more number of people, then the people actually inside the danger zone area, it pops up the alarm and alert my safety officer. So that's another video. So they actually have to have the smart card, and then this is camera that detecting the workers, so that there's more people inside than the smart card allowed. Then they actually will pop up and alert my safety team, and then they will actually go and see what's actually happening. So all these devices are very important, very critical for construction site safety. I think we are, as a company, we try to use as much technology as possible so that we can safeguard our workers' well-being. And then we encourage our younger colleagues to think about all these new ideas and come to us, and then we can employ them on site, such as robotic, AI, IoT, etc. And we're hoping that our sharing will be able to give some insight for my fellow contractors, and so all together we put our effort to reduce the accident rate. So the zero is not only for climate change, but also for zero accidents. So I know I'm speaking before lunchtime, so I will finish here. So I'll let you probably enjoy your lunch faster. So before Christine panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Engineer Dr. Wong. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you for your presentation and for explaining to us how technology can actually be this industry specific to actually help us improve and maintain the wellness of our workers. Thank you. Well, I'm sure we have a lot of takeaways in this morning's sessions for all the presentations. We've heard about how policy can drive change, Hong Kong's current and future journeys towards carbon neutrality, several urban planning examples to help make Hong Kong more sustainable, as well as technology applications in the construction industry from the presentation just now. And now let's move on to our panel discussion. The topic for this panel will be on constructing a sustainable city, vision, technology, and people. Joining us today, not only we have the speakers from the morning session, but also we have our moderator here with us, and please welcome her on stage. And she is Professor Christine Low, SBS JP, Chief Development Strategist, Institute for the Environment, Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Thank you for being here, Professor Low. And now we would like to invite our following speakers to join us back on stage, and they are Ms. Audrey Nagent. Please welcome Mr. Ken Chiu, Engineer Michael Fong, Engineer Dr. Conrad Wong. Welcome, and please be seated. Thank you. And now over to you, Professor Low.
Right, well, thank you very much. And as Conrad said, we know everybody is hungry. And you know, I'm restricted to really asking that one question to each of them. So I hope you will agree that I've picked some important questions. So Audrey, let me come to you first.
Okay.
Thank you for coming to Hong Kong. I think today, I know you've walked around the city, so you see the topography, our buildings, and so on, and you've heard from actually a good group of presenters. They've given you a picture of the ambition and the problems we have and the challenges we need to go ahead with. You shared with us the idea of the buildings breakthrough, and you've walked around the city. So give us a message of what you think we can contribute.
I think there's an awful lot that you can contribute and an awful lot that the city is already doing to actually drive sustainability, even from the presentations that I've heard this morning. You know, my message is always to come with greater policy ambition, to look at energy efficiency, to the transfer to renewables, the importance of a sustainable built environment. So I'm feeling quite enthusiastic about the messages I've heard this morning in terms of the policy change, and also from the youth that we've heard from as well about, you know, this idea and the fact that Hong Kong is such a global city, you know, where we can actually, you can use what you're doing in your city to come to the global stage, to come to COP, to talk about what you're doing, because everything in terms of the policy changes, the urban planning that you presented, that was amazing. So I'm really enthusiastic. I guess one thing that always strikes me, there's a huge amount of buildings and floor space still to be built. So I guess my message would be also to consider the embodied carbon impact of that. So what is the impact of the materials, the transportation to sites, and how can we reduce the overall embodied impact? That's always a message I bring whenever we're talking about a lot of new growth. And there's also maybe an interesting opportunity, because from conversations I've been having, some of the challenges I've been hearing about is this concept of double aging, I think was how it was presented to me. So an aging population, but also aging buildings. So how can we look at, the maintenance of that? There's obviously a lot of skyscrapers here. Maybe there's a role for Hong Kong to figure out how do you actually tackle that aging building population, especially when it comes to skyscrapers, because we have that problem in Europe, but they're not really skyscrapers. So that would be my kind of key takeaways, but I'm really enthusiastic after what I've heard.
Right. Well, Audrey, I'm glad you brought up the aging buildings. So I think in Hong Kong, we know that we have lots of new things coming, but of course, we do have aging infrastructure and aging buildings, and retrofitting existing buildings is actually also a big business, but it's more difficult everywhere. So I'm going to come to Michael. And Michael, I explain who you are to Audrey, and the audience here know you very well. You are very influential because you build everything in the public sector, and CEDD is actually, I think, one of the most amazing departments in government. You shared with us maps. You talked about Northern Metropolis and Khao Yai Jiao, but of course there's actually more. There are actually more than those two great projects. So the first point is, Hong Kong is going to have, all these people are your stakeholders, and there's actually more business than all of us can handle, right? Coming from public and private sector. But I think the professionals in Hong Kong, including the ones for green buildings, because you are great professionals, you always have, the professionals have a great yearning to help. So in the next 20 years, Hong Kong has to deliver on all these amazing projects. How do you think you might, in addition to what you need to do in government, to really develop the kind of relationship and platforms and methods to get all these people and many more, including young people, to help us co-develop and co-learn? Because we all don't wake up knowing exactly what to do, and we're going into the climate era where everything has to be done better. Conrad also reminded us that we can't do it without a lot of digitalization. So maybe there are 3 aging issues, right? We also need to revive ourselves using technology. So perhaps, Michael, how can we all be more helpful to you?
So my response will be short. So there's one word that's mentioned by almost all the speakers this morning, is collaboration. Collaboration to me is very, very important, because the governments alone cannot do the job just by ourselves. We need to have the collaboration with the industry or with the people of Hong Kong as a whole. So actually, when we taking forward the Khao Yai Jiao artificial islands as well as the Northern Metropolis, the government has been trying hard, but perhaps not hard enough. They're trying hard to outreach to the society. Particularly, our focus is on the younger generation, the young professionals. All those young professionals here in this room is our focus group, actually, because in taking forward and planning, design and construct, and then to realize all these amazing projects will take at least 20 to 30 years time to build. So it will be those young professionals or young people in Hong Kong that will benefit from this implementation of these projects, and they are the communities that you will be living, working, and playing at the end of the day. So I'm very, very eager to have this, the voices from the younger generations in the society to give us feedback, to give us ideas, to give us suggestions on how we can plan and implement these projects in a way that will benefit all of you and our future generations as well.
Well, Michael, maybe I can make a small suggestions, because actually I know so many present company as well as people from other professional groups want so much to really help. But perhaps what we can do is gather them together and agree on some kind of platform and structure where people can work more closely with you to offer ideas, including some of the younger professionals for the longer term. Conrad, you're one of the most fun people to work with because, Conrad's always ahead of the curve, right? And he's showing us his passion for use of technology. And you're also a developer in Hong Kong, and you've actually developed some of the most innovative buildings on many fronts. You want to talk to us today about the well-being of the worker. You want to reduce or even eliminate accidents. So I think everybody agrees with that. I mean, you talked about we've had some bad accidents lately. So where is Hong Kong compared to other advanced economy with construction accidents? And to improve, to do some of the things that you are already doing, who should really be helping to lead the charge?
This is not a very easy question to answer because when I was the chairman of the Safety and Health Council, we attend many international conferences about safety. Unfortunately, the definition of accidents cannot be unified. Because in Hong Kong, we used to adopt a definition that if the doctor gives 3 days sick leaves for the worker get injured, then we count it as a reportable accident. But some regions say maybe 1 day, some regions will say go to hospital, and some even don't count the importation of labors. So that in itself, from a quantitative point of view, is difficult. But I think overall in Hong Kong recently, I'm very glad to see a lot of young people, a lot of startups using different technology try to improve safety. I mean, that's really encouraging. I think that is something that we really should focus more and take lead in the world, because I'm sure if the technology can be developed and used in Hong Kong, have huge market in China and this Southeast Asia. So I think I'm looking at the young people there. They should be more focused on the young people and their talent, how to nurture them.
Well, maybe I can press you a little bit here, because of course for younger people, using the technology is, just comes very naturally. But for us to actually get more companies, right, to actually adopt this kind of technology, where can we make a better start? I mean, you are all in, I know that. But how can we get more people to do that?
I think the government now put a lot of emphasis on construction safety, and that safety record impacts every contractor's livelihood. And so that's providing a very good environment for us to improve construction safety. But I think if we can nurture some young people, say, groom the next Li Ka-shing on technologies, okay? And they will say, wow, you're not making money from product development, but really truly making a mark in technologies. Then they will attract more people to adopt this. Hong Kong is, I think, very, a lot of entrepreneurship around in Hong Kong, we still do. And so if we can demonstrate that, a couple of companies listed in Hong Kong Stock Exchange or NASDAQ, for example, I think that will encourage more people to come and join in.
Michael, maybe you want to talk to the government, give them another job, right, to kind of get all this going. Now, Ken, you and I meet a lot. Ken and I meet a lot in finance gatherings, right? And we've met over, I think, the last 2 or 3 years. We've done so much, talking on panels and so on relating to green finance. So I'm very glad to hear today you've shared with us, for example, OPARC, that you're actually capturing the credits, and the credits can then be used. And I suspect that you're also listening to Michael, and all these projects there, there's potentially, both in the public and the private sector, carbon credits to be captured. And it's important because it helps to lower the cost of very expensive projects. So you have a lot of potentials, but you're not yet having a lot of trade. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. Thanks. Actually, Christine bring up a very, very important point is why we want to cite OPARC, why we want to cite the resource company is because going back to the cost question, it's not a simple formula, right? There are two sides of the equation. One is about opportunity. One is about the cost. Solely going back to the usage of credit, if we just look into a transaction, it is a cost because you pay, right? However, I think there are a lot of companies, and we spoke a lot and see out of this ESG, the E, right? And in particular, climate, where we can capture the opportunity by doing better in the ESG space, especially in the E. And obviously, the use cases that not just myself, but like Commissioner Wong has also shared is one, to showcase their actions actually taken, and second one, there are indeed opportunities, not just focusing on the cost paid on the credit, but also holistically, what are the drawbacks, what are the environmental attribute, what are the commercial value that can bring back. We need to strive a balance across all this. I think that is one of the dimensions that we look into the question. Now, your next point you asked about like the trades. Of course, from exchange perspective, we always care about the volume. Christine, you know, you were in the system as well. I think the carbon is a slightly different. I think there are a couple of things very interesting. I think as myself, like a P license holder in the driving space is in carbon. Firstly, carbon is finance but not finance because it involves a lot of science. The methodology involves how do we want to quantify the emission, avoid or remove, for example. So it's a collaboration, it's a cross-discipline action. So just measuring the volume may not address the exact the point. Even in exchange volume perspective, we look into open interest and things. But I think there are a couple of things in carbon that we can take a look. One, issuance. It could be a reflection of the confidence of the market. Second one, retirement. How many people really use it than just hold it, right? There are many metrics that I think in this very nascent market, we can still look into it. Of course, then, in terms of transaction, from core climate perspective, we deem to dedicate to look for long-term buyers like the one that we sign a letter of intent, but there are long journey to go, especially in terms of education.
Can I ask you and Audrey maybe the same question, right? I mean, building retrofits, new builds, tremendous projects that you've heard about, I mean, they do cost money. And generally, when we have this kind of gathering, it's really great that, Ken, that you're here, because normally we have engineers and architects and planners all talking to each other, and we talk about great projects and solutions, but the money people are not here. Now, we're very fortunate to have a government that is still debt-free, right? I know the financial secretary complains about having less money, but we are incredibly fortunate in Hong Kong that we are debt-free. Right? So we've generally, Michael, right? In a way, Hong Kong has paid cash for many of the projects, but we're now going into green bonds and so on. Now, it's an inspiration to have you here today, first finance person. Do you think, Ken, it would be good if we had more discussions where the hardware people and the money people can actually spend a bit more time, reflecting on really where the opportunities are and how can we make that happen? And then maybe, Audrey, you can have the last word by thinking, money's needed all over the world. And whether you've seen some platforms or some ways elsewhere where we can bring money talk into hardware projects. Ken, you go first.
Okay, first of all, I declare that I'm not a money guy, purely. My background is math and computer science. I'm still struggling with the AIoT things. The good thing, I mean, today's platform is marvelous. I think it's very critical, especially when I mentioned that when we look into environment, it's a cross-discipline subject. And I cited an example from carbon credit, from environmental perspective, from the Bureau perspective, probably the focus will be whether or not the retirement of credit will hit the NDC, for example. From a finance perspective, the guy will not asking about NDC. They will talk about, okay, can the settlement be done properly, right? Can we price it properly? Now, I think that the key function of like this kind of forum is very important to emphasize on this cross-discipline nature of many things, especially in the ESG space. Only when we can bring all the experts together and you gather together with a proper collaboration, like what just mentioned, collaboration, understanding, because the pain points, the focus are very different. Only when we can put them together, we can make it happen. Otherwise, it's very difficult.
Audrey, the last word.
Thanks.
Before lunch.
I'll be quick. I'm not a finance expert, so that will help with me not being quick. But I think one of the conversations that we've had at World GBC and within our network is we do that collaboration. A lot of the time the finance folk are missing, but we are seeing that change. We're seeing a lot, like the Climate Bonds Initiative, for example, they're doing a lot of work on, how do you access to finance? There's a lot of talk now about transition risk. In Europe, we are doing a lot of work on the EU taxonomy, which is going this kind of guiding framework for where sustainable investments should go. So I think that conversation is really, really moving along at pace, but I still think there's more room to bring the finance guys in to speak to the other stakeholders and speak in a language that people understand. I think that's really, really important. But there are definitely positive signs of change, but getting those accessing the money that is there is still a challenge, but there is new tools like green mortgages, the EU taxonomy, and other. In Europe, we talk a lot about accessing finance for innovation, so there are platforms available, but really the next step is to really bring the finance community in the room with all of the stakeholders. We collaborate across the value chain so that we can unlock that and unlock it at scale. So I'll stop there for lunch.
Well, terrific. There's a lot of work to do. I think people are enthusiastic. Hong Kong is both a big city and a small city because we're geographically small. We can have 5 meetings a day, right? That's not unusual. So let's get on with it. We know people across industries and sectors, and perhaps we just need some mechanism who understands how to organize these things to help us, to bring us together so we can have better collaboration. Please put your hands together to thank the panel.
Yeah, thank you once again to our panelists and also to Professor Low for moderating them for us. Please stand together for a photo before we go. Yes, shall we? Yes, let's take a photo together. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, a big round of applause to this panel, please. Really fruitful discussions. And yes, may we have Architect Choi and Dr. Zheng to join our panelists here on stage for this photo. That's wonderful. Let's smile for the camera. A lot of takeaways from this panel, collaboration, and really, it's time to take action. We need to know the importance of working together to help make our city more sustainable. That's wonderful. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Please return to your seats and be seated. Thank you again. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we conclude our morning session for the conference. Thank you again for your participation. Before we let you go, please note the following. For conference guests, you may show your registration confirmation to enjoy exclusive discounts today, including 10% discount at Nina Patisserie on the ground floor and 20% discount at Cafe Circles on the 9th floor. Please don't forget to also visit our booths outside of the ballroom. We've mentioned to you the 5 interesting booths right there. And if you have been using the SI headsets, please leave it on your chair and our staff members will collect them for you. Also, please take your time to scan the QR code for our online survey and provide us with your valuable feedback for this conference. For CCG Heart members, can earn 1,000 CCG Heart points upon completion. So the QR code is right here on the screen. For those of you who may not be able to join us in the afternoon, please put your badges in the recycle box at the reception. For those staying on, please keep your confirmation email with QR code to register at the reception table again starting from 1:45. For those who join us online, please log in to the same link again at 2 p.m. Thank you again, and we'll see you after lunch. Please come back before 1:50. Thank you.